Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, World Juniors are here and some of the Flyers youth are starting to take shape. Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steel as we bring you all the latest on the Flyer.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. As always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers. And how you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How about yourself?
Oh, you know, a little crispier, a little drier, a little, you know.
I'm ready for fall and some hockey here. We have some hockey going on too, yeah?
Oh my gosh, how about that? I mean, that's the cool thing, right? Hey, we got hockey going on, so we got some hockey
now. Yeah, it's getting there, season time, getting close to the season. I think that's what the show's about this tonight, right? Is hockey.
Hockey
that's currently going on.
Oh my gosh. Hey, how about that, folks? We are at episode number 89. Okay, so we are at Cam Atkinson episode. Right, that's his episode, or that's his number, is 89, right? So we've done a Cam Atkinson number of shows, and for that show, we are World Juniors are here, and some of the Flyers youth are starting to take shape. We've seen a couple of the first couple of the games. We're in day 3 of World Junior Championships. Now, let's do some clarification here. The World Junior Championships was originally supposed to happen January into February or something like that last winter. And it was postponed due to the coronavirus issues. And so that, I think they played, 2 or 3 games? One or two? Right? Yeah, they had just started playing, like it was only second or third day, and they shut everything down. Well, they wiped all that stuff off the books. So none of those stats, none of those games count. Okay? These games, the ones that they're playing now, are the ones that count for this year. And they allowed the guys that were eligible to play in January, February, are the same guys will be allowed to play in this one now. So even if you turn 20, you'll still be eligible to play in this one, because they postponed it. And, here we are, 6 months later, quite a few guys turned 20 in that interim, you know what I mean? And so, but they allowed for those guys to be eligible. So had a couple Flyers playing in the World Juniors this year. How about, Lance?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's 4, I believe, in total Flyers prospects in this tournament that is currently going on. And, 2 of them play for Team Canada. So that's good that they're always the heavily favored team out of the bunch. So
I mean, that's at least a 50-50 chance at some medal.
Right.
If you're playing for Team Canada, I mean, that's at least a 50-50 chance at some kind of medal. Something, right? So, all right, well, cool. Well, we're going to get to that. Right, we want to talk a lot about that, because that's what's going on right now with the Flyers prospects. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the upcoming training camp. We got the training camp coming up, and the all-rookie game has been announced as well, too. So we'll get into some of that a little bit here down the road in the show. Mm-hmm. But first of all, we would like to say big, huge thank you to Spreaker for being a great host, a great place, a one-stop shop where you can even record your shows using the Spreaker app. You know what I mean? So we'd like to thank Spreaker. They're the ones that gets us out there on all of the podcasting platforms, where you guys can go and just type in the Hockey Writers Inc. to like Spotify and Google and Apple and iHeart. Yep, and Amazon, and just type in Hockey Writers Inc. and we will come up and you'll be able to listen to us and hit the like and subscribe and the 5 stars, and that'll let us know how much you guys really enjoy listening to us. So thank you guys very much for your support. Thank you very much for Spreaker, and thank you all for listening and checking us out and hitting the like and subscribe. We really appreciate that. So let's get into it here a little bit. We got a couple of our prospects playing for Team Canada, right?
Yeah. Elliot Desnoyers is playing with him, and he's 20 years old now, 5'11", 172 pounds, was a 2020 5th-round pick of the Flyers, and in most people's eyes, I do believe they, at this point, think he's the guy that we haven't seen in a Flyers uniform that is possibly the best so far out of that crop. So we've seen Bobby Brink come up. We've seen some of the others at the tail end of last season when all hope was gone anyway. So
and then unfortunately, what happened to Bobby Brink? Yeah, gone for the next foreseeable 5 months or at least whatever.
Right. So we can talk about that later during camp battles too. But Desnoyers so far has 0 points in this tournament versus Latvia the other night. And I think they're playing currently, and he has 0 points playing against Slovakia. So pretty indicative of what he's usually does. I don't know. Really, with Halifax this year, he had a great season. But not so much when he comes to playing for Team Canada. I don't think he's getting a fair shot though. I think he should be playing up on the line a little bit. And he's playing down a little bit with guys that are probably a little bit beneath him, but he's not even carrying that line. But when he does play in the queue with Halifax this year, he's played great. And he had played in 61 games this past season. He had 42 goals, 46 assists, and 88 points. So the guy can obviously score. He's looked great in developmental camp, and all that. I just want to really see him going in this tournament. Yeah.
Do you know what though, Lance? It might take a game or two for these guys to kind of get together, because they probably haven't had a lot of time to play with each other or to get used to being on lines with guys or playing a particular coaching system, or whatever the case might be. And I've seen that over the last I've been watching juniors now for 5 years now, and I've noticed that where it takes teams a game or two, or that third game. It's usually when things start to come together and be like, all right, we've had a couple games under our belt now. We've had a practice under our belt now. You know what I mean? We're kind of getting the feel of things. Do you know what I'm saying?
I would tend to agree with you in that sense, especially for a team like Canada, who has such great depth in their nation and talent throughout. They could make probably 3 teams with the same age group and be competitive, whereas other teams like Slovakia, a lot of these kids that are representing this team have been the standouts for their age group for some time. They played together. They at least know each other from past tournaments and everything in their countries. And, Canada and now the U.S. doesn't really have that luxury because there's so many prospects coming out. So at that level, so team like Latvia, who Canada played before too, the depth just isn't there, and a lot of those top prospects are the guys that have been playing together since they were 15 in different tournaments like this. So on top of that, like you said earlier, the Flyers have Tyson Forrester, the 2020 first-round pick of the team, and he's 20 years old now and 6'1", 203 pounds. Last year he played 9 games in the AHL. He had 2 goals, 1 assist for 3 points. Not overly impressive. So with a little
ice?
with a little bang up history, I don't know. He didn't get top line minutes there, but they didn't really like what they saw. He got a little banged up, so they sent him back to the OHL, and he played 13 games down there once he got healthy. 6 goals, 5 assists for 11 points. So definitely a little better in that sense. And through 2 games in this tournament so far, from when I last checked with this last game, of course, going on currently, as we film this show, he had 0 points in the first game against Latvia, and he has 1 assist in this game where they are taking it to Slovakia right now pretty good. So I just finished, I think it's 11-1. Team Canada beat Slovakia.
So see, it takes him a game or two to get it to click.
Right.
Okay. All right. So
So other players that the Flyers have in this tournament to watch, if you do want to go over to NHL Network and catch these games, they are always
I was just going to say they're exclusively there. So
they all are televised, and they're very exciting to watch, especially for somebody who's missing hockey like I am right now. So
I have to agree with you on that, man. Really, just
good hockey,
chomping at the bit, really, to be watching some hockey.
Yeah, and Sweden plays, I think, tomorrow for their second game. But the Flyers have defenseman Emile Andre, who they took in 2020 with their second pick. Now, we talked about this player before, and he struggled a little bit since being drafted. Originally, he hasn't been up to the SHL level as of yet. I think he's due to go there next season, but he's only 5'9" defenseman. He's a left-hand shot, which was questionable. You remember those shows when we have such depth still at left-hand shot, and why would we go after a guy so small and so place where we have so much depth already? It's very questionable. He's 20 years old now, but he seems to turn it around a little bit now. He's got 0 points in his first game, but he was a +2 in his first game in the tournament. He played a good chunk of time against the Swiss in a 3-2 win in their first game. He played 24, almost 25 minutes that first game for Sweden. So big time minutes for this young still defenseman. And I'm really interested to watch him play against peers, in a sense, his own age in this tournament from other countries, to see what he really has against these guys. And over in the SHL, he's playing against certain men in the youth, the younger leagues. Still the minor leagues that he's been playing in, he's still playing against men. So I want to see what he really has against some guys, some competition his own age. And so far he's looked pretty good this tournament. So
he's going to get a shot there. Their game 2 is August 12th, which is tomorrow at 2:00 against Austria. Right. And then their game 3 is against the United States.
Yes, so that'll be a big prove-it game. That'll be a big prove-it game for him, and sees what he can do against some good already drafted talent. The USA team is stacked full of guys that are already drafted. Unfortunately, Cutter Gauthier I don't think's playing, and Kaplan's not playing. There's some guys that are 20 and and been drafted for a year or two, been playing some college even the last season and everything to represent Team USA in this tournament. So we'll have to see. We'll really have to see what he's going to show in these next couple games.
Do you know what I'm really and I have to just kind of put this out there, but I'm a little bit upset, maybe, I guess, at the fact that we don't see the likes of Connor, Cruz, or Stephen Holiday playing for this team. I mean, I know they're probably on the bubble
Mm-hmm.
as far as age. You know what I mean? I think they're still 19, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, if there's some of the best players coming out of the United States Hockey League, that one of the leading scorers, why aren't they playing for Team USA?
I think that's a simple question in my mind. I think it's, a lot of these guys are first-round draft picks that are on this Team USA roster, and you're just looking. If we shoot through some names here, you might not remember all of them, but they really have some deep lineups, and a lot of them were first round picks. Luke Hughes, Brock Faber.
Oh yeah,
Swagger.
No.
There's
Luke
some
Hughes
big names. Logan Cooley. Yeah, Logan Cooley. Yeah. I mean, I don't think any of those are going to replace Logan Cooley. Matt Nees is a big name. Coronado, who came from the Chicago Steel. Before, just some big names on this team, and I really think Sasha Pastova. Yeah. I do really like those guys, and I think they're going to be great players. But I think this USA team's deep.
It's pretty stacked.
They're pretty stacked. I think they could be even more stacked if they had everybody, maybe Cutter come in and play that on that team as well. But he's got to think about his future. He's a top 5 pick. People are going to be gunning for him. Logan Cooley is there, but it's a team's decision too. He, as we'll talk about in a little bit, I mean, Cutter is a big bright part of the future for the Flyers. So and maybe sooner rather than later. So who knows?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but we're hoping for the best good things. You know what I mean?
Right. So let's wrap this up. Yeah, the last guy who the Flyers have playing, from their system is Brian Zantini. He plays for Switzerland. He plays for Switzerland. He's 19. He's 6'2", 181 pounds. He's a left-hand shot. He's 2021 fourth-round pick. So, I'm not overly impressed with this guy. If I got to be honest, I don't see why the team really went after him.
Let me guess.
He's another
left-hand shot defenseman.
Yeah, he's another left-hand shot defenseman. So, in such a high pick too, like Andre, a second-round pick, and Zantini, a fourth round pick. You can still find some good talent, and the Flyers went back out.
He has the body.
Got another. Yeah, he does. He's got the size. He's got the size, which is good. But he had 0 points in his first game. He played 14 minutes. He was in a 3-2 loss versus Sweden, Andre's team. And he was even. He wasn't plus. He wasn't a minus in that game. I think they have another game tonight. So they'll play, probably getting ready to start now, considering.
Sweden or Switzerland?
They're
playing United States tonight.
Yep, they're coming up right now. They're going to be playing at, so
10 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep. So they're going to be playing USA. He's going to have to prove himself there. Swiss are going to get beat up on a little bit, I think. But Zantini this last season played for the Peterborough Petes of the OHL, and he played in 56 games. He had 4 goals, 22 assists for 26 points. So we'll see. Like I said, not two of the prospects in Andre and Zantini that I would have liked to seen if they could only pick 4, which they can fill up as many as they want. If they're good players, they're going to be taken by these teams and allowed to play. But I would have rather seen some other players from the Flyers system chosen, and or either volunteered to play for their teams. But like you said, it was delayed and everything else, and some players want to get back into the Flyer or into certain teams' camps that drafted them. Some players want to already know they're going to go back to the AHL or to college, so they want to kind of get in that groove and stick around. So it's a little messed up timing for it, but one other player I want to talk about, a bright spot for Team Canada and possibly a future Flyer if the team tanks.
Yeah,
like
whatever.
I think they will.
You just keep dreaming that dream, buddy.
Right. But Connor Bednard, 16-year-old kid, last season scored 51 goals, 49 assists for 100 points. Big year in the WHL. I think he was the youngest player by dates, to reach the 50-goal marker in WHL history. So, props to him. He's been big this tournament already. He has 2 goals and 2 assists through 2 games that I last checked before we jumped on. He might have got something else in there before the game ended. I don't know, but. Yeah, he's playing with McTavish, who I really liked.
We really were high on him too for the draft.
Right, and he advanced right at the end, just like Cutter Gauthier did this year. Both after I wrote articles about him, but right, but the Ducks, the Ducks have a deep franchise. Looking forward to watching some Ducks games coming up with McTavish and all that. So this is possibly a player and Connor that the Flyers could really draft. If they're gonna stink it up this year, like most people think they are going to, because of the lack of moves that Chuck Fletcher was able to pull off this off season. They have a good chance at reaching that top 5 pick mentality again. So I want to take some time already before the season even starts. Once we get the website up and running to post some articles, I'm going to write some articles about these kids that should already be on the Flyers' radar, because sadly I don't think that they're going to be focused on playoff hockey this year. As early as November probably, but who knows. So, but the big knock I got on him is he's 5'9". Doesn't seem to stop him as of yet, because his shot is so amazing and he's able to skate through 2 or 3 players. But I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at the NHL level. So hopefully he drinks his milk and eats some chicken and grows an inch or 2 before then.
One thing that I have to say I've noticed is that Philadelphia over the last, say, 3 years has started drafting larger players.
Well, I mean, definitely
Have you noticed
this past draft for sure. They really
even last year the number one, Tyson Forrester was a bigger guy. Zantini's a bigger guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some of the guys that they've been drafting. No, but I mean,
but some, Tumala wasn't really big, and all that stuff. So
I'm with you, but
I like it.
Happening
I like
in this
size.
draft.
Yeah. This past draft for sure, everybody was over 6'2" and 200 pounds for the most part, and I'd like to see that but the big thing is they can all move their feet too. It's not just size; it comes with speed. It comes with skill. So that's what really matters, finding those players that have it all.
Exactly, because it doesn't do you any good if you can just, if you're a one-trick pony.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Here's the thing, though, that kind of just, and this is, I really like watching the World Juniors, because it gives these guys an opportunity to really show the kind of players that they potentially can be.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? In the last couple of years, we've seen some of the players we saw how Cam York looked and played. We saw how Bobby Brink looked and played. Do you know what I mean? And we've watched how some of these guys that we've gotten on the team, how they played in the World Juniors and how well they've played. You know, and how this is such a good opportunity and a good stage for these players to display their wares. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. I really like this tournament. I think it holds a lot of weight. I wish more players would attend this tournament, especially this one in particular this year. But you know, you gotta take who you can take and build the team on who's available. And you know, I don't know heavy favorites quite yet. I think Canada is going to be tough. They got Kosa in net too, so that's a big name, a big first round pick taken by Detroit. So, you know, and we've seen you know, our very own goaltender, you know, win gold and everything, you know, and a silver with Team Canada before. So, yeah.
You know, we've seen it happen in the past. Yes. Yes, we have. I will agree that yes, we have seen that in the past. Yes. So
let's talk about camp. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with that, I just want to say that the Flyers are going to be starting camp here relatively soon. Okay. And they've announced that the all-rookie game is going to be between the New York Rangers. And so it'll be the white and orange team against the white and the blue team. Or something like that, I guess, of the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
And September 17th and 18th or 18th and 19th?
Yeah, I forget which it's coming up. But, you know, this game in particular, the all-rookie game, is very exciting to watch for me. You get to see all the prospects out there. And, of course, last season, off-season, if you remember, it was a big scrum that happened with Wade Allison and a huge individual in Matthew Rampy. I think he was 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. And, you know, Wade Allison was showing some grit and squared off with him and bloodied him up pretty darn good. So, you know, I think that these rookies really take this game very serious. They want to show the team, you know, that drafted them, you know, that they have what it takes to make the NHL roster sooner rather than later. And, you know, I think there's a lot to gain from it. So, you know, if you have the time to shoot up there and watch the game in person, it would be worth your while for sure.
Exactly. And so, all right, here we go. I like that they opened the camp up to allow for the fans to come and see.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And they allow the fans to come and watch. And I too am excited about the all rookie game because that gives an opportunity for the different coaches. Do you know what I mean? To
get some
coach
looks,
different teams and get some, you know, get some experience and the whole 9 yards. And so I always look forward to that and seeing how they play and who shines and who, you know what I mean? Because this is kind of about as real of a game setting as they're going to get. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you see what they can do in juniors and everything else, but now you're seeing, all guys that have been drafted, all guys that were the best of their respected leagues playing together, and at the same age group, for the most part. And, who shines and who doesn't. And that's the question, and who might prevail and make the team as a rookie, get their shot that could lead them on to a 10 season career. You don't know. So, and in all aspects, really, folks, this might be what's most exciting in my mind, because I don't think the Flyers are going to be an exciting team to watch this year. And this might give you hope for the future. So who knows? I really want to see Cutter. I want to see Kaplan, and what those guys can do. And, if maybe Desnoyers is out of it or whatever, comes back, whatever, I want to see some guys, what they can do. I want to see what possibly Wade Allison does. He didn't really play a whole lot with the Flyers. I want to see if he's
healthy this year.
I don't think he's going to be. I don't think he's ever going to be healthy. He hasn't been healthy a single season in college. He hasn't been healthy
yet.
And I mean, it's a shame. It's definitely a shame. I really like Allison. I think he is, he's a Flyer.
Black through and through. Yeah.
Right. He's a Flyer through and through. And, if he could just beat this injury bug, and, I think he'd have a great career. But it's been his Achilles heel, for a while now, and what's held him back for sure. So
let me say this here, because I don't really think that the Flyers are going to be bad enough to get a Connor, Bednard. I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that there's going to be any kind of I kind of have to go a little bit on the optimistic side and say that this team is going to be better than it was last year. I mean, you're going to have at least Couturier back. You're going to have at least potentially Hayes is going to be back. You know what I mean? And you have...
For how long?
Okay. So here you go. I mean, either, look.
That's the question, though. Yeah.
Exactly.
Can these guys stay healthy?
For how long? Right. Exactly. So.
And I think that's why the team was looking into at least replacing some of the training staff, because there has been so many questions and concerns and so many of the same injury problems for quite some time now. We've talked before, and like I've written, articles about before. Yeah. So
how many articles have you written about the fact that the training staff and the medical staff is like, well, how is it that the team continually has the same injuries and over again, and not just the same players having it, but all the players are having the same injury over and over. Anyway, so
question marks for sure.
Yeah, but I was very blessed and honored to do a special show last week with Jim Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or earlier this week, or a little while ago.
I had to go to work.
Gosh, go figure. Anyway, right. Sorry about that, but got a chance to sit down with Jim, and I explained to him that I was cautiously optimistic about the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, you sound a little bit more cautious than optimistic. And I said, well, yeah. I have a lot of reason to be more cautious than optimistic. And he pointed out a couple of things that I think are definitely going to be huge improvements. I mean, look, as far as if you compare the team from last year to this year, you can't go anywhere but up. And I don't think there's going to be any such thing as a tanking going on in Philadelphia, not with Tortorella as coach.
No, I don't think so. They'll do it on purpose. No.
Yeah, and you don't bring in a guy like D'Angelo if you're going to tank. You just don't. You don't spend that kind of money. You don't. Do you know what I mean? You don't bring somebody in there, and that's one of the points that Jimmy brought up. And I thought, yeah, but see, that also goes into that line of thinking where we're only one or two guys away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think they're more than one or two guys away, but that's following that's following that line of thinking. Well, we're only one or two guys away. We'll bring in D'Angelo, so we're and
my line of thinking is bringing in D'Angelo was a cover effect for
Ellis.
For Ellis and the mistake that Fletcher made in bringing him in, and and stuff like that. So it's in question, but there's definitely the camp's gonna be interesting because there's definitely gonna be some question marks that need to be addressed now. And one of my biggest is with Joel Farabee out to start the season.
Yeah.
Should Cutter Gauthier make the team out of camp and at least get a shot of 9 games before being sent back, to BC.
I'd like to see what Elliot Diane is going to do. I'd like to see what Tyson Forrester is going to do. I mean, seriously, it's time for these guys to that was the other thing that Jim brought up, that these younger players have to take a bigger bite out of the team. And they're going to be expected to take a bigger bite out of the team. And Tortorella will play him. Like, he doesn't have a problem playing the young guys. You know what I'm saying?
He definitely doesn't, and especially if some of the older guys are not living up to are not cutting it. Yeah, perfect worded. And, a guy that, the Flyers really had step up and do just what you said is Joel Farabee.
Yeah.
And, he came in out of 1 year college or whatever like that. And he came in, made the team, and nobody was going to take that away from him. And for the most part, you really haven't seen that with, we talk about this a lot, but you haven't seen that with a Morgan Frost. You have yet to see that with Tyson Forrester. I think Wisdom gave it his all when he was up with the Phantoms, but he was sent back down after being injured this year. So, there's Isaac Ratcliffe. He didn't really, pan out and give it on his all.
So folks are saying, and what I mean by folks, I'm saying, pundits, media, other folks like us are saying that Isaac Ratcliffe showed out better at the end of the year last year. And
I think he said it best is he knew what was going to be expected of him when he came up to the Flyers, and he played a tougher Philadelphia type game, but it really wasn't him. It was indicative of what the Flyers do to players and try to change them and make them be something they're not. So it's tough call on that one as well. How do you take a 50-goal scorer in juniors and put him on the fourth line
and make him a grinder and a checker?
Make him focus on grinding and checking and getting that puck away from the opposition. Like, I don't know, and I don't think that is what his game should be. It never was before. So even despite his size in juniors, he wasn't as overly physical player and all that. So the kid's got talent, or at least he did at one time, but he's lost his touch along the way, and needs to find it and bring it back. So in any sense, I think Cutter, like we've said before, he's a left wing, which Joel Farabee is. He plays his position. You don't have you have a huge hole there with now Farabee being out. You don't have Giroux there either. He's gone. We all know he signed in Ottawa. So who's going to pick up the slack there? I don't see a whole lot of people at that position. And Cutter is a top 5 pick. He's 6'2", 201 pounds. So why not give him a shot?
What do you got to lose?
Why not give him a shot, right? I say put him out there. You don't want to make him feel like he needs to be the face of the franchise right now, but I don't think it's too much to ask for a top 5 pick to see if he can make the team on, which is such a bad team, out of camp. I really don't. I really don't think that's pushing it too far to ask a guy with this size, with this much skill, with this much pedigree to be able to, start the season.
Do you remember when?
And what happens if he does have a great 9 games? Do you just send him back there anyway? I wouldn't. Let him play if he proves his worth. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask you, right? So there was a player that the Flyers had done this once too before, back in 2001, and that was a certain Simone Gagne. And he was a rookie, but he was so good, and he's kind of like, he did all the right things in preseason. He did all the right things in his juniors and everything else. And he got to preseason and lit it up. Right? And so then he got to play his 9 games and lit it up in those 9 games. And then they were like, well, I
ended up playing 80.
Game. No, he played the 10th game, right? Yeah. And then the 11th game, and then that was it. And he stayed with the big club ever since.
Yeah, he had 80 games played that year, 20 goals, and like 48 points his rookie year after being drafted in the first round. And that he was drafted 22nd overall.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, you never can tell, but I would hate for the Flyers just to send, because he's already committed to play at BC, to send Gauthier, Cutter back to college anyway. I don't think he really needs it. In my mind, I think he can play in the NHL.
That's why I really like the opportunity to give him those 9 games.
Yeah.
And see what he does in those 9 games. And if he does like what Simone Gagne did and played really well and gave the Flyers a reason to not send him back to college, because now they have a coach now with a system. There was no system last year. There was no coach. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Mike Yeo was just basically a frickin'
going through the motions,
through the motions, and sitting there acting like he was, coaching the team. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. That's how I saw it. That's how it came across. His press conferences were so third-party, disjointed. Like he was like talking from back here, looking down at not that he was looking down on everybody, but like he was kind of that third person perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that when I was in the interview rooms and stuff like that after the games, and
exactly.
I don't know. Is it because he was never gifted the job or the title of head coach without that interim, interface before it? I don't know, but it didn't ever seem like he really gave it his all to whip it. Yes, it was mid-season, but he didn't really implement any major changes to the system. He kind of just went with what AV had in place, maybe, switched around a thing or two, or, practiced a couple things in practice differently, but he never really tried to put his stamp on it. So, for me, I think it was a great idea to let him go, because he never really proved himself worthy of the job once he was named interim. And you see so many other coaches around the league, when they have that, when somebody's been fired mid-season, they do something and come in and yes, they've been with the team before, but once that guy's gone, they're changing stuff and making some changes, and it shows within the next couple of games even. quick, fast, in a hurry, some turnaround. And those are the guys that get gifted the head coaching job the next year because they shown hope, they showed promise to turn this team around.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I feel like we've been saying that a lot this past season, and and just like everybody else, left to scratch their head on a lot of different things. And
because there's so many ifs, there's so many questions, there's so many things that we don't know. We don't know that this or this happened, or this, that, and that happened. You know what I mean? We're not privy to that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And so that's what makes it that much even more frustrating, because we don't know, and they're not saying anything, and they don't have to.
Well, I think the Flyers fans and media in general is used to Ed Snyder run teams that are very forthcoming, very out in the open with everything. And we kind of knew where the team stood, or where players stood, coaches stood, everything, because it was definitely out in the open and not hidden behind those closed doors. So when Comcast kind of took over, and even when Hexie came in as the GM, he was very secretive. He kept a lot of stuff in-house, and even so much so it kind of costed him his job, because he was unwilling to. He backed himself into the corner kind of thing with his assistant GM, and wasn't even telling the ownership, what his plans were, what he was trying to do, whatever. He's kind of reserved, and that cost him his job. So it's a little bit different than we're used to, for sure. And it seems to carry on with Chuck Fletcher and Brett Flair, and Comcast owning this team now. And so much so we knew so much, and knew that Johnny Hockey wanted to come, because Johnny Hockey was telling everybody he wanted to come. It made it out in the open about it for years. So that was kind of known. But like you're saying, some of the other stuff, there's a lot of questions still out there, a lot of kind of secretive stuff going on, and I don't know why, but maybe that's because ineffective at his job. Chuck Fletcher's been ineffective at his job, and trying to cover some stuff up that, or botched, things where he would be judged even more than he already is.
I've tried very hard to try to give AV the benefit of the doubt when he was coach, and I tried to give Chuck Fletcher the benefit of the doubt as general manager. And whenever I start to do that, they turn around and do something cockamamie or whatever, to make me go, wait a minute, what are you guys doing? Wait, hold on, no, smack. What? Okay, whatever. The fact that they bought out Lindblom and then re-signed Radcliffe Frost, and you know what I mean? That just kind of was like, okay, because boy, it didn't take long for Seattle to go, hey, or San Jose to say, hey, we'll take you, we'll pay you the same money.
A little less, but pretty much the same money for sure.
I mean, so I want to start being able to say and look at this team in a good light. And I would really, I keep hoping for the ownership and the management to give me something to look at that's good and positive. And do you know what I'm saying? And it gets harder sometimes to see those things. But I think there are going to be some good positives coming out of this season. Okay?
Okay.
I really don't think we're going to be good enough to make the playoffs. Not with the other teams around us getting better, with Boston re-signing and bringing back, Krejci and re-signing everybody. Boston's going to be tough. Tampa Bay's going to be tough. Florida's going to probably be a tough team as well. I mean, we'll see how that's going to work out. Do you know what I mean? But
I think Kachuk's going to be great tough. There, yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's still teams in the East that are going to be tough to play. And it's going to be a gnarly division this year, I think. I don't think it's going to be quite the... I think there's going to be more parity.
One or two team race that it was, last season.
You're going to see things a little closer, I think, this year. Right? Even though last year was almost an historic year because we saw how many teams get to over 100 points.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it was an explosion of points. And, I mean, I think we're going to get a good number of teams that are going to be over 100 points this year as well, too. But I still think it's just going to be a much tighter race. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I think Philadelphia is going to be a better team. I don't think they're going to be a good enough team to be in any kind of a contending place to be anywhere near the playoffs.
No.
And that's going to be the sad part about it. Because, you don't want to tank, but at the same time, you don't really want to win a lot of games either. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of that catch-22. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it definitely is. I think you got to put a product out on the ice that the fans can at least be excited about. And, we talked about that before as well. Do you want to tank and just stink it up and, everything? No, I don't think Philadelphia really wants...
That's never going to happen.
I don't think Philadelphia really wants that anyway. You can say, hey, we're going to play some youth and, play some of these young guys that we've been talking about in this show and give them their shot.
Yes.
And I think, even if we lost games, they're all gaining experience together. And that is something like teams like Detroit has been doing with their, top prospects. Anaheim's, now getting into doing with some of their top prospects, with a lot of their veterans, getting older and moving on and retiring, and they're still an exciting team to watch, even though they, for the most part, weren't winning or competitive. Now they are, because they've spent a couple of seasons playing with each other in the same rink, developing chemistry. And I think that's what the Flyers need to do. Do I like, some signings that the Flyers made? Yeah, but do I think that the Flyers needed to really bring in a 30-some-year-old fighter for 4 seasons? No, I don't, because I think that's gonna really block these players' development that much more. Do I think they needed to re-sign Justin Braun? I mean, they don't have the right hand, shot help that they do on the.
Well, so what? It ain't their power play is, you know what I mean? Like, come on.
But they could have, found some youth and different stuff like that to fill that hole, instead of signing back somebody that, just has been okay for the past, I don't want to be okay. I want to be moving forward to making the playoffs again. I want to move forward in developing these young players, and we're not doing that. We're not doing that. We're,
not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. And that's why I think this season's going to be one of the... This has to be a key season, because if Chuck Fletcher makes it through the season as still the general manager, I'll be shocked for one, because that means he has done something to add some kind of scoring depth, or they went out and played the Tampa Bay / Vegas card and said, hey, let's go get this quote unquote free agent for this amount of money, and then we'll wait till the first day of the season to make sure that we're compliant. Or maybe there's a deal out there to this, that, or anything else. I don't think they're ever going to be able to get rid of JVR's salary. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's nobody out there that wants it. Okay, clearly. All right? If they weren't able to clear that space to get Johnny Hockey, we're paying him this year. And he's going to be on the team this year. And that's just no shakes about it. That's just the way it's going to be. You know what I mean? And that's another position that's blocking, I think, as well, too. Okay, if you must be honest. I really think that JVR should have not have been brought back here. For the amount of money that he was brought back here for. Not for the inconsistent amount of production that he's done. And the fact that he was one of the leading scorers on the team last year, I mean, what does that tell you? That a guy like JVR is one of the leading scorers. And that's probably not a good thing if he is the leading. Anyway.
I mean, you would think with his draft stock and everything else, he would be, but he's not the player that he was in Toronto. He's not playing with the type of players that he was in Toronto to achieve those stats and everything that he did up there.
Nope.
And he doesn't come up and play, but every fifth game, he'll show up. So like you said, is that really worth that money that somebody's going to play every fifth game? Yeah, he plays, but he's non-existent out there, most nights.
And he gets 25 goals a season, but he spreads it out over 82 games, and it's like
he'll get two goals in a game that they lose 6-2. So,
right, great, but what good's that to him? Yeah,
right. So,
I'm with you. Well, listen, buddy, I think we got another one here in the can. I think. What do you think? Yeah,
I do. I do.
I think that some of the Flyers youth are gonna take a game or two to get into the swing of things, but I think you're gonna start to see some of that talent shine through in the juniors, and I'm gonna be very interested to see how the players that the Flyers have out there are gonna pan out in the World Juniors this year, and then of course I'm looking forward to camp here real soon too, right?
Yep, for sure. It should be interesting, and there's so many injuries with, like we said, Farabee and Bobby Brink and, Ellis now being out. We kind of filled that spot. But there's going to be some opportunity. And as bad as the team has been the past 2 seasons, I think that John Tortorella coming in as a new coach, a new outlook on things, a new system. So guys may make the team. Somebody that you don't expect to make it right now may make the team because he's looking for something. He's looking for somebody that's going to be a bright spot that can take his system and run with it. And, who's going to play an entire 60 minutes of hockey. He's not going to put up with he's another guy like AV that's not going to put up with JVR being non-existent for 3 games straight and getting paid that amount of money. He's not going to put up with that. So there may be some opportunities also for players to come up and players to be in the others to be in the rafters wearing suits. And I think, it's going to be, AV plus some, if you can think about it, because like we talked before, I think Tortorella is a guy that is going to make up his mind pretty quick if he wants a person on the team or not. And if he doesn't, it's not going to be your idea player that, you want to trade. He's going to push you on out the door, or or bring you to that point so that he can be rid of you to replace you with somebody that is going to play for him. So,
and there you have it.
Yeah.
There you have it. I mean, that's what I think is going to be the good thing about having Tortorella as a coach, is he's going to make sure that the guys that are buying in are going to be there, and the guys that aren't buying in ain't going to be there anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you were saying with Jimmy, saying that, you guys were, optimistic and stuff like that. And, I want to believe that Tortorella is going to do something. Is he my first choice in who I think the Flyers should have picked? No, but obviously just because you throw a lot of money at a guy doesn't mean he's going to come. So this is who they've been dealt and who has been picked to lead this team. So I really want to see what he's going to come in and do. And hopefully,
I am too, and we'll be very interested to see how it all pans out.
For sure. For sure.
But we would like to thank you guys very much for checking us out. We'd like to thank you all for watching us. We would like to thank Spreaker for all of their great help and support and getting us out there on all the great podcasting platforms, from Apple to iHeart to Spotify to Google to all the great platforms out there. All you have to do is go to your platform, type in the Hockey Writers Inc., and we will show up, and all you have to do is click on the 5 stars and hit the like and subscribe and let everybody know how much you enjoy the Hockey Writers Inc. Lance, tell the folks where we can find you.
So, of course, guys, you can always find me on Twitter at Lance Green 39. All right, I switched it, so it's a new one. Switched it a little bit, so it's easier to find me. And soon enough, you can be reading all my articles on SteelFlyers.com. So, any updates on that, Steel? I'm excited to listen about that too.
We're working hard on that, and we're getting things rolling on that. We're also getting the store set up. So we'll be taking pictures tomorrow of the T-shirts to send them off to go out onto the website. So, it's coming along, and we'll hopefully have some great things coming up here with the website as well. So we'd like to thank you all for checking us out. I'm Steel Flyers. You can find me and all the great folks from Peyton on the Radio to Perlo Wisdom to Joe Boric, all the great folks out there on the Steel Flyers website at steelflyers.com, including Hockey Writers Inc. as well. So thanks, folks, for checking us out. We'll catch you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.